Alright, we're getting into false positive, false negative, and we're going to work just on this problem in this video. So a test is used to determine if people are allergic to cats. And this test is 80% accurate. So that's important. We're going to need that, 80% accurate. The test is used on 2,000 people. And it's believed that 10% of the population is actually allergic to cats. Use this information to complete the table. Okay, now, you always need to do this last column first, because if you don't have your totals, the accuracy rate doesn't matter. Okay, so we know 2,000 people total. Great. That's your overall total. You need that number first. Okay, then we know 10% of the population. So 10% of the population here is 2,000. Remember that of means to multiply. So change percent to a decimal, multiply by 2,000, and we know that 200 people are allergic to cats. Well, allergic is on top. So to find my other number here, I take my total, subtract the 200 that are allergic, and that gives me 1,800 that are not allergic. Okay, so that's how we got our totals. So let me get rid of all of this now so I can find the middle. All right, so we were told that 80%, it's 80% accurate. If you are allergic to cats, you would expect to test positive. So this piece here, 80% of my allergic people, which is 200, and of means to multiply, that's how many will test positive, 80% of them. Because again, if you are allergic, you expect to test positive. That's the intersecting piece. So 0.8 times 200 gives me 160. So if we had 200 of those people total, right, this 200 here, and we subtract, what happened here? If we subtract the 160 who tested positive, that means 40 will test negative. Okay, similar situation with the not allergic. If you are not allergic, you would expect to test negative. So that intersection is where the 80% comes into play. So I'm going to take 80% times my 1,800, and that gives me 1,440 that would test negative. If I had 1,800 total and 1,440 tested negative, that means 360 tested positive. And to finish out this table, I simply add 520 and, oops, wrong button. Gosh, this thing is not, iPad is on the fritz, 1,480. So you should see the total going across horizontally. 520 plus 1,480 does equal 2,000. And I have now completed my table. So moving forward, I have my completed table. Now, if a person tests positive, you'll notice that we have a conditional probability. If a person tests positive, that means we are only focused on this block. My denominator is the total, 520. What is the probability that she is allergic to cats? Well, allergic is the top, 160. So that's a probability of 0.308. So roughly 31%, you get a 31% chance of actually being allergic to cats if you test positive, which is kind of weird. Number 2, if a person tests negative, ooh, look, another if they test negative. What is the probability that this person is allergic to cats? So now we've got 40 over 1,480. So you tested negative, but you actually are allergic. So when you do this, you get 0.027. And what is this called? This is called a false negative. Because you tested negative, that's where the negative comes in, but it's wrong. That's where the false comes in. Number 3, if a person is not allergic to cats, if a person is not allergic, that's this line. So 1,800. What is probability the test will be negative? That's this, 1,440. And you're probably thinking, well, that's 80%. We know that from the accuracy rate. You're right, but this is just checking on your probability. And the last question in this video, if a person tests positive, we're back to here. What is the probability that she's not allergic? So we're looking at 360 over 520. This is the complement of number 1, and this is 0.692. This is called a false positive, because you tested positive, but it's wrong. And that is your first video on false positive, false negative.